Hey everyone, back with another video from me TD, your fellow gacha degen. So today I'll be going over my thoughts and I guess a review on Fu Xuan's performance and worth for a free-to-play player. I myself am completely free to play and I rolled for Fu Xuan even though I already had both Bailu and Japad before rolling for her. I'll go into more detail later about why I chose to roll for more sustain units even though I already had two 5-star sustain characters. But first off, I'd like to say that the state of everyone's account is different, so only you will know what's best for your account. Also, even though all the content going around Fu Xuan is overwhelmingly positive, and she has mostly lived up to the hype, if you don't feel like pulling for her, don't be pressured into pulling for her. A lot of the content going around regarding her gameplay performance is largely coming from players that prioritize the meta and character gameplay performance above other aspects, such as how attached you might feel towards a character and character design. I will admit that I am largely a meta player, but the other things matter to me as well. For example, I rolled Kafka, but I don't personally really like either Sampo or Luca, and those are her best DOT partners right now. But you won't see me raising either of those characters unless I have literally nothing else left to upgrade. So with that out of the way, from a free-to-play metagame perspective, do I think Fu Xuan is worth pulling for? The answer is yes. I'll go over the reasons why I think she's worth pulling, starting with her solo sustain capabilities. There are a few caveats to this, but for the most part, Fu Xuan can comfortably solo sustain in most content. Things like MOC 10, she can solo sustain there. And a side note about the current MOC 10 rotation we have right now, the Ascended Enemy actually hard counters Fu Xuan's kit. She applies DOTs, which Fu Xuan can't do anything about. She also afflicts a debuff that blocks off a part of our HP bar, effectively reducing our max HP by a large percentage. And I'm not sure the exact number, but from the video that you can see in the background, it looks like about a quarter to a third of our life bar. And this counters the HP flipping mechanic because it triggers when you hit 50% or lower, but that debuff she casts doesn't change our max HP, it just blocks off a percentage of it. So that means that she will trigger her HP flip really quickly, using up a healing charge, and also the worst part is that the heal is super small because your max HP has been cut down by a significant amount. So yeah, it's actually a really hard counter to Fu Xuan's kit. However, despite all this, I played Fu Xuan multiple times in multiple teams and she can still solo sustain against an enemy that is meant to counter her. You have to change your strategy against certain enemies, like I would purposely not use my ultimate to instantly recharge a use of my HP flipping mechanic, but instead wait for my Fu Xuan to get a little bit lower before healing. And this is honestly a good thing, because forcing us to adapt to enemies in a strategy game, it's kind of the point of playing these games. So there's a lot to Fu Xuan's and also Lord Char's kit that goes beyond just simply sustaining the team. And when you compare that to the standard banner 5-star sustain units, there's a pretty big gap there. Like I mentioned earlier, before I rolled for Fu Xuan, I already had both Bailu and Japad, but I felt like Fu Xuan would still bring me great value for my account. And I'm not saying the standard 5-star sustain units are bad. Actually, in Simulated Universe and Swarm Disaster, I actually think Japad is one of the best units there. But right now we don't have another team-wide thick shielder that competes for his spot in the team, so he has a really strong niche he feels right now. However, if Holyoverse decides to continue with the design philosophy that they've applied so far to limited abundance and preservation characters, we should continue to see more limited sustain characters that do things which traditionally characters from other paths might do, such as giving buffs while being a sustain unit or actually consistently doing a significant amount of damage. Looking closer at Fu Xuan's kit, you will see that she offers a HP increase buff and a crit percentage buff for allies, the 1cc immunity prevention mechanic from her talent and her own HP flipping and healing mechanics she's got going for herself, a small heal for her allies when she uses her ultimates, and of course her signature damage redirection, greatly reducing the chance of your teammates being focused down by the enemies. Just by listing the different elements of her talents and skills makes her kit sound already much more loaded than the other sustain units we have in the game right now. So the main reason I really wanted to pull for Fu Xuan was to finally be able to create a strong core quantum team that would allow Silverwolf to guarantee a quantum weakness implant. If you have Silverwolf, I think the value of rolling for Fu Xuan increases dramatically. Having these two as a core team pairing, filling the support and sustain roles means you are free to mix and match the last two spots on the team however you want to. So far, I've personally used a pseudo quantum team where I brought Ting Wing instead of Bronya for this particular MOC 10 cycle into the first half of MOC 10 to guarantee the quantum weakness on the enemies that I wanted to implant that onto. But I've also used Joy Lightning and Quantum with Fu Xuan and Silverwolf being the core support and sustain role characters, and then Ting Wing and Kafka as the DPS and Harmony support character. She just opens up a lot of team comps by pairing extremely well with Silverwolf. And of course, for my count in particular, my Zilla is my probably most invested and best unit, especially damage unit that I have, and then being able to just make the best team possible for her just increases the value that she brings to my account. I think Fu Xuan and her banner overall gets a high recommendation from the perspective of a free-to-play player if you don't have a second proper sustain unit in your roster yet, and especially if you're concentrating on developing your two teams for Memory of Chaos still. If you don't get Fu Xuan, you still might be able to get a Lynx, and then you'll have a Natasha and Lynx if you're just starting out, or if you've been really unlucky with your other sustain units. I also give a high recommendation for players that already have Silverwolf and want to build either a mono quantum team, or at least have the flexibility to run the quantum core of Fu Xuan and Silverwolf, and then being able to pair them with other flex units. And then for players who were in a similar spot to me, where you already have two strong sustain units already, it's a possible skip to a role if you want to, from the perspective of maximizing your Jades to either flesh out your roster or obtain characters that have more interesting gameplay. And if you're going to roll anyway, why are you watching this video? Like, come on. But all of the jokes aside, my verdict for the current state of the game is that she's a fantastic unit and highly worth it if you can spare the Jades. Especially if you still need a second strong sustain character for content that requires two teams. I have personally run her in multiple teams to test out her sustain capabilities for MSC 10, and she passes the test easily. In Swarm Disaster, I think Abundance works really well with her +1 other healer, since her own path, the path of preservation, doesn't actually work that well with her, since she doesn't actually provide any shielding. But yep, overall a super good unit, and those are my thoughts and opinions about her worth for a free-to-play player. If you found this helpful at all, a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated, and that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.